The Kia Tasman is a diesel dual cab ute that has already proved to be quite divisive in the Australian market. But let me tell you, in this review, I'm going to cover off some reasons why this might still be the right dual cab ute for you. And there's more than just dual cabs in this lineup. I'll tell you all about the engine, the towing capacity, and the payload stuff that you need to know, plus much more, including the best alternatives to it. So let's check it out. It's Tasman time. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It helps a lot. Let's go. Kia knows that you need to offer lots and lots of options for ute buyers in a market like Australia, and well, they've done that from launch. So there are 11 different derivatives of the Tasman available in our market straight away, but you'll have to wait for the cab chassis versions. They are coming a little bit later on in the year. Even so, there are lots of different versions available to pick from, and most of them are on offer in the S grade. So S is the entry-level version. It comes available with a single cab version in 4x2 or 4x4, and that's a cab chassis. And then you've got a dual cab chassis as well in the S grade, and you can get the S in 4x2 pickup or 4x4 pickup as well. So lots of options there, especially for fleet buyers, and that's probably where the S grade will sell well. And it does still have a whole heap of standard spec and tech for the money. Things like 17-inch black steel wheels, full-size spare wheel, LED headlights. You get daytime running lights, of course, as well. There's a tailgate with lift assist. There's smart key with push-button start, a pair of 12.3-inch screens, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You've got a mechanical rear differential lock for the 4x4 models, and if you choose the cab chassis versions, you have to keep in mind that you have to pay extra to get a tray fitted. It doesn't come with a tray for the cost. Above the S grade is the SX, and there's a farm-ready single cab chassis 4x4 model in that lineup, which could be very appealing to rural buyers. Plus, there's also a dual cab pickup 4x4, and the SX grade adds a few extra features as well, including 17-inch alloy wheels instead of steelies, power folding side mirrors. You get different terrain modes, and there's also sat nav included. Up from there is the SX Plus, which is only available in dual cab auto 4x4 spec, and it adds a few extra features for just a couple of grand extra, including a set of 18-inch alloy wheels, LED fog lights. You get a bed liner as standard in that one too, wireless phone charging, ambient mood lighting on the inside, and a 240 volt center console plug in there as well. Then we get into the more high-end offerings in the lineup. The X line is the next model up, and it gets things like projector LED headlights, roof rails. It gets a rear storage system above one of the wheel arches. There's also a artificial leather upholstery finish, so fake leather. You've got heated front seats, 8-way power adjustable driver's seat. You get the column shifter and paddle shifters as well, plus dual wireless smartphone chargers, which is a nice inclusion, a second row armrest, and remote smart park assist. And it is important to note that if you do want an X line and you want it in beige or white, you can't get that extra little storage thing above the wheel arch. Then there's this one here, which is the X Pro. Now it's the highest spec version, and it costs quite a bit more, and it's obviously designed more for those who are really focused on the off-roading side of things. Now, I have done an off-road review of the Tasman. You'll find a link in the description so you can see for yourself. It was in pre-production cars, and they were still very impressive. So let's talk about what you're getting in the X Pro for your cash. There's downsized 17-inch black alloy wheels with all-terrain tires. You get underbody protection for your fuel tank. You get an electronic locking differential. There's a few different extra modes like X-Trek mode, terrain modes. You got a ground view monitor so you can see around the car when you're going off-roading. There's also an off-road dash screen. You've got heated steering wheel. There's ventilated first row seats and heated second row seats, a Harman Kardon sound system, and a sunroof. So you are getting a lot for your money if you're choosing this high grade version. But let's talk about some alternatives because, well, it's the ute segment. It's highly competitive. I still think that the benchmark in the ute segment is the Ford Ranger because it has a multitude of models available, several different powertrains. I've done reviews of the diesels and also that plug-in hybrid one. I don't think the plug-in hybrid's really worth it, honestly, but the diesels, well, there's a couple of different versions there, including a V6 one, which is excellent, and that might tick the box for you if you do want a V6 diesel engine, because it's one of only a couple of utes in the segment with that option available. The other one is the Volkswagen Amarok, and it is a very well-rounded vehicle with lots of different options available as well. You can now get it in a cab chassis design, but they're dual cab chassis only, and it is 4x4 only as well. So the prices do sit a little higher for the Amarok, but it's a pretty tempting thing if that's what you're after. And there's a high-grade petrol if that's what you want too. And here's an outside option that you might not necessarily be considering, the LDV Terron 9, because it starts at $50,000 drive away and it's got similar spec and tech to a high-grade version of this. So like $25,000, $30,000 less money, and it does seem to be a pretty compelling thing. It's spacious, it's comfortable, it also goes pretty well off-road. It might not be the benchmark setter, but it does have the benchmark level towing of 3.5 tons and a more powerful diesel engine than this. So it could be a wild card, couldn't it? What would you do? Have you say in the comments. Rightio people, have you say in the comments, do you like the look of the Tasman, or are you in the majority who maybe don't like it? I don't think that it's going to be for everyone, but this Tonka Tough Boy look is certainly appealing in some ways. This is the high grade version, and that means that it misses out on side steps, which is a pain in the ass because, well, if you are a shorty, you will struggle to get in and out. If that's you, maybe consider one of the other versions. But this one does get the hardcore Hankook off-road tires. Now, it also gets roof rails, but I'll put some dimensions on your screen so you can see just how big it is. It is a big unit. It's quite a large truck. So if you are worried about size, it might not be the right ute for you. But I want to show you one thing on the back of this particular version here. So it gets this over fender storage section. So press that button there and you can open up a little side pocket above the wheel arch, which you could probably put ropes or tie down straps or something like that in there, or your gloves or something like that. And it's connected to the central locking system. It can do 6 kilos of capacity, so not that much, but at least it's there, right? Now you've got some side little step-in points on the back bumper, and same over on the other side, which is handy. But this is the high grade version, people. Like, it's not cheap. No hardcover, no roller cover, and well, you're gonna have to shop the accessories catalog if you want something like that in your Tasman ute. Right, nice soft opening tailgate. It is, as you can see, nicely damped, and there's a drop-in tub liner in the back of this particular grade. There's a few good features in the back there, as you can see. They've got some adjustable tie-down hook things, and you've also got over here a little power port area. So yep, it's like some of those other utes out there with a nice double cover on it. So you do get a 15 amp plug there, which is good. It means you'll be able to run some stuff, like maybe something in your caravan or some tools. Now on the other side, you've got a light, as you can see in the top corner there. There's another adjustable tie down and some fixed tie down points as well. Now, if you're wondering about the dimensions of the tub, I'll put them on your screen now so you can see for yourself. It is a pretty sizable tray area, and I'll also put on there the payload capacity details for the model range, because, well, there's a bit of variation. Depending on which one you pick, it'll be worth having a look at the spec sheet if you are concerned and want to choose the right one for you. Now, that tailgate also has a nice assisted lift function to it with a nice close action, and underneath you'll also find a full-size spare wheel for all versions. Now, all versions also come with an electronic brake controller setup, but no tow bar. That's weird. I already did a pretty detailed teardown of the Kia Tasman interior in my last review, but I'll go through some of the things that are pretty impressive about this cabin design and some things that could be better maybe. So first and foremost, it doesn't have the tan finish. That is frustrating for me. In this high grade version, I would love to see that tan interior, but instead we've got this two-tone grey and black, and sorry, the light is a little bit unforgiving right now, so it might just look all shiny black, but that's just how it is. And you do have electric seat adjustment for this high grade version. You can even adjust the seats from here if you need to, and you've got heated and ventilated front seats in this top spec and heated second row seats as well. So the inclusions are very impressive if you spend lots of money, but what I also love about it is that it is an SUV-like interior design and finish, and the materials are SUV-like. It doesn't feel like a work truck in this high-grade version, especially. Some of the other, you know, $70,000, $80,000 utes can still feel a bit basic. But this one has some nice inclusions as well. So you've got a dual glove box layout, so one up there, one down there. There's a nice storage section between the seats here with wireless phone chargers, 2 of them, depending on the version you choose, of course. And you also get a pair of USB-C ports there too, plus a good set of cup holders there, but if you're the Piccolo fancier, you might find that they're not as good as they could be. I like this about this car. You can see the dimensions right there. And yeah, you'll see my sunnies are right there because no overhead sunny compartment either there or there. And that might be annoying for those like me who have sunnies in the car sometimes. Now, you've obviously got your all-wheel drive controls here and your off-road mode controls there. I've done a bit more detail on those in my other review if you want to see the car going off-roading. And you've also got this little camera button right here. So if you want to, you can press that and it will show up your surround view camera system. Now, the camera system is excellent. You do have multiple different view modes available to you. You can drag the car and, you know, see what's around it if you want to. And that's pretty neat, I've got to say. Or you can just have regular old front and rear view. That's off-road friendly as well. So if you are off-roading, you can have a camera view when you are doing so too. Now, in between the seats here, let's have a look at what we're working with. A good sized center console bin. Yeah, I've just chucked the keys in there. You've got a 12-volt port and you've also got more dimensions. So if you didn't find everything you needed to find there, you can find it there too, for whatever reason. And this is a neat little trick for this high grade version. It turns into a desk. So if you are doing a job or on site and you just need to knock out an invoice or something like that, you can. There's a little extra storage tray there that you might be able to hide some texters or something. I don't know, a pen or whatever people use to do work. Now, you've got decent sized bottle holders in the doors too, and I like the two-tone finish on the doors myself. And there's an ambient light in behind there, as you can probably see. Now, the rest of the cabin is obviously screen-centric for the most part. Thankfully, you do have a good number of buttons and controls down here. So you've got glove-friendly adjusters for your temperature, your mode, your fan control, and yes, dual zone temperature. You've got a nice scroll wheel for your volume, which is great. And these are touch capacitive buttons. So I don't love that about them because I just wish that it wasn't touch capacitive because you can bump them a little bit easily. Now, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto seems to be working an absolute treat in this car for me, but on the screen you've also got a whole host of other considerations. So you've got trailer mode, you can go in and set up default trailers, so you can basically set the parameters for the vehicle, and also you've got things like connected services, including weather, so you can see what's going to happen over the next few days, and there's other settings beyond that as well. Keep an eye on your vehicle diagnostics, you can add things to your calendar, you can go into the off-road mode screen, as you can see right there, and that will give you a whole host of different information, and again, high-grade versions, that will tell you what you need to see when you're off-roading. It's very, very handy when you are off-roading. So there's your camera view. If you want to use camera instead, you've still got a compass on board too. That is really great tech. It's not a first for the segment, but it is very impressive. And over here, you've got another 12.3-inch screen with plenty of different information available. You can see there, compass. You've got some settings you can go into if you want to. You can have a look at your off-road stuff there, pitch and roll and so forth, where the drive's going. And you've got a trip computer to keep a look at as well if you want see what's been going on. You've got digital speedo in loud and proud there. If you want 2 of them, you can have them as well. So yeah, pretty neat, I would say, that technology. And when it comes to the steering wheel, well, there are some things you want to learn about it. You do have a button right there to disable the lane keeping if you don't want it on. Distance control, that's the controls for that screen right there. And on this side, you've got a mute button, which you can press down and hold to turn off the overspeed warning. And you've got a voice control system as well. Buttons down here for drive modes and terrain modes for when you're off-roading. And you've also got blinkers on the right side and wipers on the correct side, and a gear selector that pops off the steering column for some versions. So that is something that might take a little bit of getting used to, especially the fact that you twist it forwards to go forwards and backwards to go backwards. That confuses me and others quite often, apparently. I like the vent design in here too. It is very tidy. It's a very nicely put together space. It feels strong, and I think that's what they were going for. And hey, if you buy one of the high grade versions, you also get some controls for heating and ventilation and steering wheel heating and memory settings for the seat too. So lots and lots of buttons. And I love that because buttons are important in cars, I'm telling you. Up here, you've got a vanity mirror, and there is illumination, but it's not auto illuminate. You have to sort of press the button. Little thing there for your parking ticket, and yes, they extend, and they are a sizable sun visor as well, so you will be able to block out lots of light when you're driving in the Arvo light. And up here, yep, you've got Kia Connect and an SOS call button if you need it for whatever reason, an auto dimming rear vision mirror, and a sunroof. It's a small one, but at least it's there. You can cover that up if you don't want it, but hey, good to see a sunroof in a high-spec model, especially for this kind of money. Now, let's jump in the back seat and see what the space is like. Okay, that seat is set for me at 6 foot tall, and I have lots of leg room. It's actually more than a Ford Ranger, and footroom is also pretty good, I've got to say. Headroom too. Pretty impressive. Look how much room I've got above my head, and the width of the cabin is great too. So you will be able to fit 3 adults across here, and maybe with even a little bit of room to spare. And the other great thing is you've got ISOFIX points and top tethers. So let me just pull this and show you. You've got an actual top tether point, not one of those silly attachment straps behind the middle seat, but you do only have 2 top tethers. So yeah, you can't use the middle seat for a child seat. Look, that is a good inclusion. Pair of cup holders, a little tray there for storage, and there's some other really clever storage inclusions back here. So on the seat backs, you've got these zipper opening little pockets, which I think that's a really neat piece of design. I also think that it will suck when your kid decides to melt chocolate in there or something, but you've also got this little section up here for more melted chocolate, and yes, same on the other side. Directional air vents, as you would expect. This is a 240 volt plug, which is handy to keep things charged up, laptops, or maybe charge your batteries for your tools or something like that. And you've got, as I said, directional vents, not much there. USB-C port right there and right there as well to keep other devices charged. And you can see on the doors, Harman Kardon, but also decent bottle pockets and soft touch materials in this high grade version at least, and ambient light in this high grade version too. Now, one thing, that's a padded section right there. Maybe that's to stop you from bashing a head against it if you're a small person, because you might, and that window line might not be very agreeable for small people, because it does rake up quite a bit. You do have hoik handles in the back, grab handles up the top, and there are lights in there too. So that's decent to see. And you can even recline the seat if you have a shorter driver in front and you want to lie down and relax a little bit, you can. In other utes, it's always upright and it's always uncomfortable. This one, well, nice amenities included. Comfort, how about that? Under the bonnet of all Kia Tasman sold in Australia is a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, and that is smaller than lots of the other utes out there, and it has less power and torque than lots of the other utes out there. 154 kilowatts, 440 newton meters, and that is maybe a little bit under the market in terms of the outputs. There's no 6-cylinder, there's no hybrid, there's no petrol, and it comes as standard with an 8-speed automatic transmission, but you can have it with rear-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. Now, the towing capacity is good for this ute, 750 kilos unbraked and 3.5 tons braked towing, and all versions come with an electronic brake controller built in, so you don't have to pay extra for it, but you do have to pay extra for a tow bar. Rightio, for your sanity and mine, I have turned off the annoying safety bing bongs in this ute. They could ruin it for you. I'm just going to say it. There's a driver monitoring camera system which is incessantly beeping at you if you look away from where it thinks you should be looking, and then you've got the speed sign recognition system which will beep to tell you that there's a new speed zone that it thinks you've passed into. It can get it wrong, and also it will beep to tell you if it thinks you're speeding in that zone. And look, there is a mute button on the steering wheel. You can just press and hold the volume button, which is a mute button, and that will turn off the overspeed warning, so that's when it thinks you're speeding. But look, I have gone into this system and turned the things off using the little favorite button that you can set up on the steering wheel, and then you've got to touch the screen like 6 times before you can actually drive in peace. Okay, I've got that off my chest. I hope that if you are considering this ute, you consider that, because it's shitful. Righto, the rest of the experience is actually pretty promising. Look, it's not perfect, this Tasman, but it is pretty good in a lot of ways. First and foremost, let's talk about this engine. A 2.2 litre 4-cylinder diesel. Love the fact that you get the same outputs across the range. Don't love the fact that you probably don't have enough torque for most people's desires in the higher grade versions in particular. Now, look, I'm not going to say that you should go and put a chip in your thing and do more stuff to make it faster and better, because you might void your warranty. But the reality is, it could do with more torque. That's just how I see it, right? So it's got an 8-speed automatic transmission, and that transmission can be busy at higher speeds because it just doesn't have the urge to keep going in gear. So it'll hunt for gears and try and find a gear that will help it get the job done. It's not terrible, it's not unusual. The 8-speed auto is smooth. It's just that you can hear it when it's being busy. And I mean, look, I think you'll make up your own mind when you go for a test drive and see what you think about it. I haven't towed with it, I haven't put a load in it, and I do fear that it will be a little breathless feeling in those instances, because at times during my drive, which was from Bathurst over the Blue Mountains, I've been doing daily runaround stuff in this ute as well, I have found that it just feels like it could do with more grunt, and that's just my opinion. The other thing is, it is a single turbo diesel engine, so when you come to a standstill, say you're at an intersection like I am right now, if I want to turn up this way, you've got lag, and then all of a sudden you've got plenty of urge. And I mean, that's not unusual for diesel utes to have a fair bit of turbo lag, but this one seems to be pretty noticeable, I would say. The other thing about it for me is, look, it's a little noisy at lower speeds, but it's not too bad, and it's very quiet at higher speeds. I do love the fact that this is a passenger car engine, essentially. It's been used in the Sorento SUV in the past. This one has seen some changes to deal with a bit more hard work, but look, I think that it is a refined and quite likable engine. 4x4 versions of the Tasman also have the ability to run in 4x4 auto mode, so that is essentially allowing you to run the vehicle as sort of like an all-wheel drive. So you do have the capability to have 4-wheel drive on sealed surfaces, and that puts it apart from some of the other utes out there that might only have 4 high range setup where, well, you can't drive on sealed surfaces without doing damage. And look, that is a good inclusion. It means that you do have a bit more traction available to you when you are cornering, or if you're taking away from a standstill. You can obviously put it into 2-wheel drive, and it'll be a rear-wheel drive ute then, so you do get a little bit of tire squeal. But I do think that it does have a good sure-footed feel to the way that this powertrain behaves itself when you're in 4A. I'll also say that it is a pretty comfortable thing, and I actually really like the drive experience. Despite those little criticisms, I like it. I really do. I think that it's got a lovely steerability to it. What I mean by that is this feels SUV-like to drive, whereas some of the other utes in the segment definitely feel like work trucks. This one, it's got nice well-weighted steering, so you can easily predict the reactiveness of what's going to happen when you change direction. It's not too light feeling like a Ranger is for some people. It's not too heavy feeling like some other utes are. This one, it's kind of like a nice balance between what you would hope for in a ute and what you typically get in a ute. It does have a body-on-frame design. It is leaf springs at the back and an independent front suspension setup, so it's got the typical setup for a dual cab ute or any kind of ute in this segment. There are some that have coils in the back, but most have leaf springs, and I have to say that the ride comfort is pretty good. It's not game changing, I don't think. It does have some good elements to it in terms of especially the higher speed ride seems to be very well settled. At lower speeds, you do notice big sharp bumps and lumps in the surface. So if you do a lot of urban driving in rough streeted areas, I'm looking at you, Bathurst, where I picked this car up from, you might notice lots of sharp feeling bumps in the cabin. It's not too bad though. I think that for the sort of vehicle this is and the sort of capability that's been built into it with, you know, a ton of payload and also 3.5 ton towing capability, all of that stacks up pretty well, and they've done a fantastic job of making it feel like a very amenable ute. It doesn't, I don't think, make it the best in the class, but it is a very impressive ute and far more comfortable feeling in the driving that I've done than, say, a D-Max or a BT50 or even an Amarok. And that's something to say about this ute. It is pretty impressive in terms of the drive. Certainly far more comfortable than a Hilux. Let's just put that out there in case you were wondering. And also you do have a nice brake pedal feel to this ute as well. It does have drums at the back, but it still pulls up pretty well, and it's got a nice honest progression to the pedal. Although it is heavy, and it can feel heavy when you really get on the brakes at higher speeds. So yes, all that pretty impressive, I would say. And in fact, like I said, I do really like it. I think it's a more agreeable ute than lots of the other ones out there in terms of the drive experience. And honestly, Kia Australia, because they've been instrumental in making this thing happen, has done a really good job. So thumbs up for that, even though it's not perfect. Rightio, let's talk about fuel consumption. Okay, so I'm going to put some numbers on your screen that you'll be able to mull over. The 4x2 versions of the Tasman, and now I'll also throw up there the 4x4 versions, what they should be able to achieve across a mix of driving. That's the official number, and I haven't seen quite that low a number. That's not unusual. Over the testing that I've done, you'll see on screen now what I achieved, and I think that that is reasonable. Not, you know, class leading. I've seen better in a Triton. I've seen better in a bi-turbo Ranger. So I think that that is something to be said for the fact that maybe this is just a touch under engine. So you do have to work it a little bit. But fuel tank capacity is on your screen now. It runs on diesel, obviously. And unlike some other utes in the segment, you don't have to worry about AdBlue. So that might be another thing to consider. The Kia Tasman has just been awarded the maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating against 2025 criteria, but keep this in mind, that rating doesn't apply for the X-Line or X-Pro models. They are not rated, and that could affect your purchasing decisions. But they still get all the same sort of safety technology and equipment across the lineup. So you've got things like autonomous emergency braking, there's adaptive cruise control with lane keeping assistance. You can turn that off if you don't like it, just hold the button on the steering wheel down and it'll go off. But there's also a speed sign recognition system, which doesn't have an easy button to turn off, unfortunately. You can mute the overspeed warning, which means if you are going over the speed limit that the car thinks it is, it will not just continue to chime at you, but it will chime every single time you drive through a speed limit sign, or it thinks it sees a speed limit sign. And there's also the driver monitoring camera system, which can be a little bit pushy in terms of telling you when it thinks you aren't paying attention. But you're getting plenty of other fantastic inclusions for the cash. There's blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. The X-Line and the X Pro models also add a blind spot view monitoring camera system, which is really quite handy. And those versions are the only ones that get a surround view camera system as standard as well. So funny that the ones with the most safety technology are the ones that aren't rated by the safety watchdog. Bit weird, right? Now, what about the airbag coverage? Well, you've got dual front side, a front center airbag to prevent head clashes if you're T-boned, and you've also got curtain coverage for both rows of seats. Kia Australia offers a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty on its model range, and the Tasman is no different. Just be mindful though, if you are buying it for commercial purposes, there is some fine print that you need to keep in mind when it comes to the warranty stuff. Now, there's a cap price servicing plan. You'll see the duration of it on your screen. Yep, 7 years again, but the service intervals are noted on your screen now. And yes, that's every 12 months, which is good. Means you don't have to go back twice a year like some other brands out there. But hey, what do you think about the average service price, which you'll see on your screen now? I would love to know your thoughts. Have you say in the comments. And hey, if you do service with Kia Australia's network of dealerships, you get up to 8 years of roadside assistance included. So they'll top it up each time you go back for maintenance. Sweet deal? You tell me. I think the sad reality is that the Kia Tasman is going to be overlooked by lots of buyers in Australia because of its appearance. And that's just the reality. And unfortunately for those customers, they're going to be missing out on what is a very impressive ute. This high grade version in particular is lovely, but I think even in the lower spec versions, you're getting lots of pickup truck for your cash. So what do you think? Would you have a look at it? Have your say in the comments. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you when I see you.